Stephen A. Smith's recent remarks on Giannis Antetokounmpo have ignited one of the most divisive debates in sports media this month. During a broadcast of ESPN's First Take, Smith stated that unless Giannis wins a second NBA championship, his career may ultimately be remembered as an underachievement. The comment struck a nerve, not just for how it challenged Giannis's standing among current superstars, but for the way it reframed one of the league's most respected careers as somehow incomplete. According to Smith, Giannis's resume, which includes 2 regular season MVPs, a finals MVP, and multiple All-NBA selections, doesn't hold enough weight without another title. He emphasized that the Milwaukee Bucks, despite being led by a generational talent, have only made it past the second round of the playoffs once in the past 4 seasons. For Smith, those results create a gap between potential and fulfillment that he believes Giannis must close if he wants to be considered on the level of the all-time greats. Rather than issuing a direct public response, Giannis posted a fan-made message on social media that addressed the controversy. The post celebrated Giannis's journey from selling sunglasses on the streets of Athens to leading Milwaukee to its first championship in 50 years. It praised his loyalty to the franchise that drafted him and his decision to stay rather than chase titles elsewhere. Giannis's decision to share that post spoke volumes. Without using a single word of his own, he made it clear that he saw the criticism and stood by his path. The defense didn't stop there. Jay Williams, a fellow ESPN analyst and former NBA player, challenged Smith's take on air and called it one of his worst opinions in recent memory. Williams reminded viewers that Giannis delivered one of the most dominant finals performances in modern basketball history. In 2021, he scored 50 points in a title-clinching game, controlled both ends of the floor, and silenced every doubt about whether he could win as the focal point of a roster. Fans across social platforms echoed that defense. Many noted that injuries to key teammates have affected Milwaukee's recent playoff outcomes and that Giannis has remained one of the league's most consistent performers. The criticism struck some as selective, especially when compared to the praise often given to players who have changed teams to win. For Giannis, staying and delivering in a small market was never supposed to be easy, but it's exactly what made his championship so memorable. What made the response to Stephen A. Smith's take even more powerful was how quickly it united people across the basketball world. Giannis didn't have to say much himself, because current and former players, analysts, and fans flooded the conversation with a level of intensity that made it clear this wasn't just about one player. It was about how greatness gets measured and whether loyalty, leadership, and consistency still hold weight in an era obsessed with championships. Jay Williams wasn't the only media figure to push back. Multiple analysts pointed out that Giannis had carried a franchise that had struggled for decades into the national spotlight, not by joining forces with other stars, but by elevating the players around him. Winning a championship without forming a super team is a rare feat in today's NBA. Milwaukee's title in 2021 wasn't a result of last-minute trades or stacking the roster. It was built over years of development, chemistry, and Giannis's relentless improvement. Critics of Smith's position argued that reducing a player's legacy to a ring count ignores everything else they bring to the game. Giannis has been one of the most dominant two-way players of the last decade. His impact is seen in scoring, rebounding, rim protection, and transition play. He's led the Bucks to consistent top-tier finishes in the regular season and has become the face of a small market team in a way that very few players in NBA history have managed. Fans on social media and online forums weren't shy about voicing their disagreement either. They brought up how playoff exits in recent years came with major asterisks. In 2022, Chris Middleton missed the entire second round against Boston. In 2023, Giannis himself was injured early in the first round series against Miami. And in 2024, the newly acquired Damian Lillard was clearly playing through limitations, including a season-ending torn ACL that translated to Dame missing the entirety of 2025/26. These weren't collapses born out of underperformance. They were shaped by circumstances that even the best players can't control. Meanwhile, the narrative surrounding Giannis has always been different from that of other stars. When he decided to re-sign with Milwaukee instead of joining a bigger market or more glamorous franchise, he was praised for valuing loyalty and continuity. But now, that same loyalty is being used as a metric to question whether he's done enough. That contradiction wasn't lost on fans, especially those who view Giannis as a symbol of what many say they want from today's stars: commitment, humility, and growth. Through all the noise, what Giannis has shown is resilience. Rather than respond with outrage or defensiveness, he allowed the basketball community to speak for him. And what they've said, loudly and clearly, is that one championship, when earned the way he earned it, means more than most. As the media fallout continued, the focus slowly shifted from the surface-level hot take to a deeper conversation about how narratives are built and who controls them. Stephen A. Smith is one of the most powerful voices in sports media, but his claim touched a nerve precisely because it ignored a crucial part of Giannis Antetokounmpo's appeal. Giannis doesn't fit the usual mold. He isn't flashy in his approach, doesn't chase headlines, and rarely fuels off-season drama. He lets his play speak, and for many, that's exactly why calling him an underachiever felt so out of step. The heart of the backlash wasn't just about defending Giannis. It was about pushing back against the idea that legacy must be measured by identical metrics for every player. Giannis's journey is unique. He entered the league as a skinny teenager with no real fanfare, built his body from the ground up, and transformed himself into a perennial MVP candidate. He's not only been a dominant player, but also a reliable one, showing up year after year without controversy or excuses and producing at the highest level. The idea that anything short of multiple championships somehow diminishes that legacy struck many as short-sighted, especially when you consider how rare it is for a superstar to remain with the team that drafted him and bring that franchise to a title. Giannis didn't need to jump teams or recruit other stars to find success. He made the Bucks relevant on a national scale and helped deliver the franchise's first championship in half a century. That accomplishment alone placed him in rare company, but for some analysts, it wasn't enough. That's where the criticism began to feel less about basketball and more about narratives. The obsession with comparing players across eras and assigning them to rigid tiers has created a climate where even all-time performances are scrutinized if they don't come with repeat hardware. Giannis, like Tim Duncan before him, has always represented a quieter form of greatness. That's not less valuable. It's just different. Meanwhile, the situation has brought renewed attention to how quickly public perception can shift. One season of playoff disappointment or a few missed opportunities and suddenly a legacy is questioned. But Giannis's response, or lack thereof, has only added to his credibility. He didn't chase the camera or demand attention. He simply stood firm, and the community around him rose up in support. In the end, Giannis's career isn't going to be defined by television segments or debate show rankings. It will be remembered for the way he changed the perception of what greatness can look like in today's NBA. And for many fans, that already puts him in a category that can't be reduced to just championships.